and welcome to Preview. My name is Guy Giampapa. Preview.
And I'm Donald Tulip.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cue Guy.
Hello and welcome to Preview. My name is Guy Giampapa. Donald Tulip is on assignment today, but I'm here to do the show with a very special guest. You know, we've started a tradition here at Preview about, maybe 10 or 11 years ago. We hooked up with Broadway in Boston. At that time, they were brand new in Boston, and they were reviving theater in our town, thank God. And we had their president on. And that's been going on every year since, I think, 1998, something like that. But the new vice president of Broadway in Boston is here today, thanks to Ann Sheehan and her assistant Natalie Tomaselli, who brought him here. His name is Rich Jaffe, and I would like to welcome him into our show. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Well, you're going to continue the tradition, I hope.
Absolutely.
We do this once a year. We ask Broadway in Boston to come in and talk about the brand new shows.
Great. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you. You have a great season coming in.
We do.
It's a little different this year in the fact that you're not using the Colonial at all.
No, we're not in the Colonial this year, but we're really happy to be in the Schubert Theater for two of the shows that we are doing. Yeah.
What are the two shows that are going to be in there?
In the Schubert Theater, we have La Cage aux Folles, which will be taking place. That's our next show. That's in this December, and then The Addams Family will also be in the Schubert Theater in February.
And all the others are at the Opera House.
Everything else, we have 7 shows this season in the Opera House.
That's a gorgeous house, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's one of the most spectacular theaters in the country.
I know, and it has such a history.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, let's get into the season.
Sure.
The season has already started with South Pacific, and you're going into the next show, which, as you said, was La Cage aux Folles, and that's starring George Hamilton. Am I right?
Yes, George Hamilton and Christopher Sieber are the two leads in La Cage this year.
Now, are they touring that right now?
It actually just opened last week in Des Moines, and then it's working its way around. We're one of the earlier markets on the tour. I think we're about the 5th or 6th market that they're going to be in.
When that show first came out, I tried out in Boston.
Yep.
And this was like back in maybe the early 60s, if I remember right. And they said that there's one number in that show that just brought the house down and it made history. But it's, as the years have gone by, that show is getting better and better.
Sure.
And it's more acceptable to everybody.
It is, and it's actually the first show in history to win 3 times. So it won Best Production, it won Best Revival, and then it just won Best Revival again.
Wow. Boy, that's saying something about the show.
It is, and this production is out of the Minier Chocolate Factory in London. And it went from there to the West End, where it won the Olivier Award for Best Musical Revival, and then came to Broadway and won a Tony Award for Best Musical Revival as well. Well,
George Hamilton is new with this show, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Okay, he wasn't in the London production or anything?
He wasn't in the London production. He wasn't in the Broadway production. They brought him on to do the tour.
Okay. Now, he's playing
George.
Oh, he's George. Okay.
Yeah.
Who else is in that show? Anybody that we know?
Christopher Sieber, who's a Tony-winning actor from Shrek, was his most recent, and he's playing Albin.
And this is at the Schubert.
Yeah.
And this is your first time at the Schubert.
Yes, it is.
Right. That's going to be an experience. That's a beautiful house.
It's a great house. It's a little bit smaller than the Colonial, but this show is going to play beautiful.
And the acoustics in there are perfect.
Yeah.
They really are. Yeah. Well, that's playing in December 5th through the 18th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what follows that? American Idiot?
Yeah. So we're bringing in American Idiot at the end of January into the Opera House, and that is also this is maybe the second and third stop on that tour. So it's right as that tour is getting off the ground, and it is an amazing show.
Tell me something about that show, Rich. I have to my ignorance.
So the show is based. It's by the band Green Day, and it's based on their Grammy-winning album American Idiot.
Yeah.
And when they wanted to bring that show to Broadway, they teamed up with Michael Mayer, the Tony-winning director of Spring Awakening. And the collaboration created this energized, dramatic interpretation of the rock opera American Idiot. It's an exciting show.
the trend on Broadway seems to be going to shows like that rather than the, I don't want to say old-fashioned musicals, but the the straight and narrow musicals that we've been accustomed to.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that this show is, to me, it's a little like Hair. So it's a throw. If you want to say it's something new, it is a new musical, but the way that the music is structured, and it's all through songs, very little dialogue, is similar to what we had last year when Hair came to town, and that's not a new music.
Right. Yeah. That did a job on us. Really. Okay, well, right following that, you have the Addams Family now. Now, everybody loves the Addams Family, and when they first made it into a musical, I said, "Are they kidding? Can they really do that?"
They did it,
I guess they
and
did.
it is a fun show.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience reaction to the music and the snaps. Everybody's just starting snapping right when you're sitting down in the audience. It's a fun night in the theater, and the way that they structured the show is a little bit of, it's a story of Wednesday as the daughter, and she's bringing home her boyfriend to meet the family for the first time, and she wants her family to be a normal family, and they are the Addams Family, so it doesn't work out so well.
I think Mike went down. Okay. Good, okay. You're a pro. You know how to do that. Some people fumble that. They can never get it right. But the Addams Family, is that in the vein of the producers? Is it farce?
Not so much. No, I mean, I think it's a traditional musical story with songs and dancing, and it's just based on the characters of the Addams Family.
Do you know who's starring in that yet?
We do have.
I know sometimes because that's in February.
Yeah,
sometimes
that tour just started. It started a couple weeks ago in New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
that's where they launched the tour.
Yeah, and that's going to be at the Schubert, right?
It is. That will be in the Schubert as well.
Okay, that's going to be exciting. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, casting will be announced shortly.
Yeah. Well, following that show I guess in March, from March 13th through April 1st, you've got a show that comes back time and time again, and it is so beautiful, Les Mis.
Yeah, it is. It's my favorite musical.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I've seen it a few times at least, and it's just this wonderful story that you can come back and see it. And this is the 25th anniversary production.
Oh,
it has been selling out every venue across the country, every city that it goes to. So we do anticipate that this is going to be a home run and a big audience favorite.
It's almost like it's classic American opera in a sense,
Yeah, I mean it's a wonderful story. It's just the music is incredible, and it's the kind of show that. I mean, I saw it when I was 16, 17 for the first time, and it was the kind of thing that I just fell in love with. And I think that's the kind of show where when you've got that 16, 17-year-old in your house that you want to bring them in because this is a musical that they're going to enjoy seeing.
I feel the same way. I've seen it, I think I've seen it about 3 times.
Yeah.
And every time I get something more out of it. It's just so beautifully written, beautifully performed. The music is, it's just gorgeous.
There's a movie actually that they're starting to work on based on Les Mis with Hugh Jackman is going to be in.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. Well, it was filmed. I mean, the straight story I believe, was filmed twice.
Yeah.
And now the musical version. Oh, that's very interesting. How Hollywood and Broadway come together sometimes.
They do. There's a film being made of American Idiot as well.
Oh, is there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is.
Wow.
And we did, we had Rock of Ages last year that's coming out as a movie. And, so there's definitely a crossover that's happening between Hollywood and Broadway, where Broadway keeps remaking Hollywood movies, and there's always been a relationship that exists between.
Yeah, for a while there, it was. In the old days, it was Broadway and then movies.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it turned around. It was Hollywood and then Broadway.
Yeah.
But now, is it going back?
It seems to be going back the other way. I mean, Chicago got made into a movie, and so and Rock of Ages was a musical first before a movie. American Idiot was a musical. So it is interesting. It's kind of going back and forth.
Boy.
Yeah.
What else can I say about Les Mis? I mean, it's one of the most beautiful shows ever written. I mean, that's not to say that things like My Fair Lady were not, because My Fair Lady was up there also.
There's a lot of them.
There's an awful lot of them. Yeah. You know, they say that the golden era of Broadway was in the 50s, but did it go down for a while, and then it was a resurgence coming back now?
Well, it's definitely a cyclical business, where you have this stretch of shows that seem to be pumping out of Broadway, and the creativity is flowing, and everybody's loving what comes out. There's no shortage of people trying.
True.
You know, the problem on Broadway is 4 out of 5 shows fail to return their investment. So it is that 1 out of 5 that everyone's trying for, and I imagine in various periods of Broadway's history there have been more successes than failures, and then you go through these cycles. And right now, last year was a huge year on Broadway. You know, so we're looking at a cycle going up at this point.
Rick, just not to get off the subject of Broadway in Boston, I just want to ask you a question. You're fairly new in Boston. I know your background was with Trinity.
Yes, I was a Trinity rep in Providence.
But I'm sure you know the Boston scene. You probably know it right along. Do you think that the theater scene in this area is healthy?
Absolutely. I really think it's amazing, because you have the quality of theater is tremendous, and you know, once you get above some of the smaller fringe theaters, you have very established, strong regional theaters, the Huntington, ART, Arts Emerson, Speakeasy, Arts Emerson jumping on the scene and filling a void and putting in other shows. It's a great diversity of theater that's out there, and the quality is really amazing.
I was just reading the other day, and I don't remember the actress's name. She said that she went to Emerson, and when she graduated, she went on to New York because she wanted to be an actress in New York, and she's having a tough time. And she said, I love Boston, I want to go back there, but I don't know if the theater scene is healthy. And that was back in, I think it was 1980. But she said she did come back, and she was convinced that as time went by, the theater scene here was real healthy and as good as New York.
I think it is. I mean, I think that, you know, I think being an actor is a very hard career. So I think that whether you're in New York or Boston or wherever, I think it's a very tough career to be an actor and find consistent work. But Boston does have a very healthy theater scene, and I think that the theaters are supported very well by the community. So I think that this is a great place to work.
Well, I think the fact that, as I said earlier, when Broadway in Boston came on the scene a good 10 years ago, they really sparked the theater scene in Boston and really brought it back, because at that time we were a little bit sluggish.
Well, I mean, Boston theater scene has, I mean, in the 90s, everybody was doing incredible business in theater, and everything was everywhere. And that was the era of what was called, the British invasion in the theater world, where you had Cameron Mackintosh's shows coming in from London.
Right,
You Les Mis and Cats and Phantom, and those shows, led the way to the touring business. I mean, at that time, theaters were blowing out their back wall so that they could accommodate the tour of Phantom of the Opera, and that happened all over the country.
Amazing.
And that alone really opened up that touring business to make those venues more acceptable to the types of shows that tour across the country.
What do you think? Musicals are always great in the fact that they bring in an audience all the time. But Broadway in Boston in the last couple of years has not brought in too many dramas. They brought in a few, like Osage County, I think it was last year. August. That was a great show. Why aren't there more dramatic shows coming in?
There are a lot of dramatic shows, and I think they're more often being done by the regional theater.
The smaller
and
houses.
That is, the problem with... I'm a big fan of plays. I was a Trinity rep for 6 years, and I think that they do plays just as well as anywhere else.
Oh, they do. They're tremendous.
And there's just less of an audience that is attracted to a play than a musical. And I think that's kind of been the challenge that's been on Broadway all along, is that now the way that the producers in the for-profit business versus the non-profit business are putting Hollywood stars in the plays so that they can sell the tickets. And that is, unfortunately, the way that the business side has to address trying to get great plays out there. On the